Hello and welcome to Tech Hub Africa's Tech Talk. My name is Doreen Ewuku Ajiman and I'm your host for today's program. You are leading a team, the market shifts, funding stalls, AI rewrites your roadmap, regulations change overnight. Your job is to give direction, but you don't have a map. What do you do? Today, we are breaking down what uncertainty does to people and how leaders shape communication, trust, and ownership when nobody knows what's next. Joining me is Misti Burmeister, who has seen corporate executives and leaders at their toughest moments and helped them navigate uncertainty. I'm honored to have her on the show today to share her insights on leading through change and uncertainty. Misti, welcome.
Oh, what a pleasure, Doreen. Thank you so much for pulling all of this together and for inviting me to come and speak. What a joy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So I'm psyched. I'm excited. I had the opportunity to go on your website to learn more about what you do, the amazing work that you've done, the coaching. All of us need coaching every now and then. And so I want to ask you, based on the topic we have for today, I want to ask you, in the last 6 months, when were you uncertain as a leader? What happened and what did your body do before your brain took over?
What a great question, Doreen. Change, you started with, we all need a little bit of coaching from time to time. And I will say, I need coaching almost every single day. It is change probably is one of my favorite topics because I struggle with it the most. Because I have plenty of opportunity for growth around non-reactivity and so forth. So the question is, in the last 6 months, what have I struggled with regarding change? And I want to say about 9 months ago, I started this little group here in Lewis, Delaware, which is where I live. And it's the Lewis Leadership Lunch. We call it the L3. And, I didn't know. Is this thing even going to work? The idea was to give people a place to share strategies for success. People, specifically leaders in this community, could come together and share strategies for success. I didn't know if it'd work. I'm not from this tiny little town. I'm an outsider. Will it work? And it is working. We have regularly 15 to 30 people that show up. We have people that have raised their hand to facilitate. So it's working. But then just a couple of months ago, the gentleman that I reeled into helping me start the L3, he had to step away. He had some other things he needed to do. And so now it's like the all me show. And at first I had that sort of like, am I going to be able to do this? What's happening? And so there was some trepidation, some fear around it. But it's working, it's still going. And so, I mean, there's just a few, but I think as an entrepreneur, nearing 50, so lots of body changes start to happen, as a female entrepreneur at about 50. Um, every day can bring with it lots of change and challenge. In my coaching, I don't do coaching the way that maybe most people do it. I sit on the edge of let's try this thing and see if it works. And sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it really works. So I think in life in general, uh, for me, sitting on that edge of will this thing work or not is one of the greatest challenges of change, is taking that risk.
I like that. And by the way, you look amazing. So I wouldn't have even guessed that you were nearing 50. You look amazing.
Hey,
So
thanks. I'll
thank you.
take it.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing insights about the L3. You mentioned about change. Change, it's so hard. It's so hard for people to change. So my question is, why is change so difficult for people, even when change itself is positive? How is that?
Isn't that crazy? Even when change itself is positive, it's still difficult. And I mean, I think the easy and simple answer is that our brains are wired to keep us safe. And so even when it's positive change, our brains are still on alert, trying to figure out how to be and how to do in a way that's going to cause us to have a positive result. So it's difficult, it's challenging for us to stay in the moment and trust whatever is happening because our brains are always getting ahead of the game. Like here's an example. I love open water swimming, and there are two bays pretty close to where I live. They both have about the same potential threats in them. But since I typically swim in the bay that is real close by, I have a sense of comfort with it. I love to try different places, but the moment I do, fear increases. So even if it is a body of water that I'm excited to explore,
Mhm.
I'm a little bit more on edge. I'm a little bit more nervous because I'm in a new place and I can't relax as much. Which, when we think about leadership, it's the same thing. Very often leaders think of their team members' reactivity to change as a negative thing, but it's actually them trying to say, hey, where do I fit in this new thing here? So helping team members to orient to what's coming and what's new is an incredibly important piece of leading through change.
I love that. I love that. The brain, it always just sprints even before you can do anything. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
we can't undo that, right,
We
Doreen?
can't.
We
We
can't.
can't. We're stuck with it. But you have sat in rooms and also had the opportunity to coach many executives from across the spectrum and across the world. What are the earliest signals, based on your experience? What are the earliest signals that tell you a leader or a team is struggling with change?
So the earliest signals you'll start to see are people are talking, they're gossiping. You'll see a lot of a reduction in productivity. You'll see a reduction in collaboration. People will start to hoard and hide information. They're not as focused on the job that they're supposed to be doing, because they're too focused on the things that they're afraid might come. So those are just a few of the pieces that you'll hear and see on your teams when change is happening and they're afraid.
Yeah. And it's so funny you say that because on many occasions, leaders might say, this is not a good change. I'm not going to communicate. And then people start coming up with their own stories on what is happening or what might. So I like how you said the earliest signals include that gossiping and talks amongst people about what is possible. But
You'll also see worst case scenario thinking, I said reduce
reduction.
productivity.
Mhm.
People sort of start to withdraw. They don't put their full selves in anymore. And this is a time when we need to go, what needs to happen next? Like what are these folks struggling with? And I know we're gonna get more, Doreen, into what do we actually do in this situation. But if we just recognize there's an acronym I like to use called TALK, and that is tension increases. So you'll start to see as a leader, tension is increasing. Avoidance grows. So we're avoiding conversations, we're avoiding taking responsibility, we're avoiding. There's a lot less collaboration. So that's the L, less collaboration. And then I call it kitchen talk conversations. So our kitchen conversations. So the whole thing is talk. Again, tension, avoidance, less collaboration, and kitchen conversations are what you're going to see that's going to let us know that people are pretty afraid. Those are our signals.
I love that. And I love the acronym. Talk, definitely something that all of us can remember. So thank you. What's the biggest mistake leaders make when communicating uncertainty or change? Because sometimes they just decide, like, I'm not going to say anything. This thing will write out. But what are some of the mistakes?
I feel like what you just said right there is it, right? So you said sometimes they just think, well, I'm just not going to say anything. right? So the biggest mistake I see over and over and over again, and I'm actually working with somebody right now who just came through layoffs inside of her organization. That was quite an interesting experience to bear witness to. Big company, and I won't go into all the details of that, but the biggest mistake is that they don't communicate what they know, and also, equally important, what they don't know. So I do know X, Y, and Z. Sometimes it's very limited what they know. But every little piece of information that you can offer to the folks on your team will help to orient them to at least they know what you know, so they stop making up so many stories about what they think you know. So very often leaders just stay quiet and they assume that you people on their team know that I don't know or that I know very little. But that's not actually what happens. What actually happens is people start to tell stories, start to make up stories about what possibly could be happening. And the story they're making up is never as good as the reality of what's happening, right? They're always making up stories that are horrendous, way more than what is actually happening. So this reminds me a little bit, I'll go into that in just a moment. So the number one mistake that I see people make is they don't communicate. The second mistake I see them making is they don't create a space for the folks on their team to share, to express what's not working, what are they afraid of? So many leaders don't want to open Pandora's box, but it's Pandora's box of emotionality that allows people to breathe and calm. If they can just create a space for people to share what's true, what they're struggling with, what they're afraid of. I said many leaders think, well, I don't know what to do about that. And when it comes to change and challenge around change, it's not about fixing, right?
Yeah.
It's just about creating the space for people to express what's there for them. And even just doing that calms the nervous system, which allows them to collaborate, to innovate, to bring their full selves. Almost every leader I've ever met talks about how they want to have, employees who are eager, enthusiastic. Well, that enthusiasm needs to have a space that feels safe. And so how we go about doing that through both listening and through sharing everything we know is critical. And that's the two biggest mistakes I see made over and over again. Not sharing what you know and also what you don't know. And then not creating a space for people to share what they're concerned about and let those fears be aired.
I love that. And I think once that happens, the mistrust begins because people no longer trust you as a leader and all of that. And I say this because it's going to be my segue into my question of how can leaders build trust when they don't have all the answers?
I love this question also. Your questions are incredibly well thought out, Doreen. And in fact, when they don't have all of the answers is when trust is built the most, right? So when we think that we need to show that we know everything, that's when we lose trust the most. But there is another little acronym that I came up with just this morning for this. To build trust, what we need to do is be real. That's REAL. To stay real means reveal again what you know, what you don't know. So explain what you don't know is the E. So reveal what you know, explain what you don't know. Acknowledge emotions. There's often a lot of fear that it'll just take over the whole space if I acknowledge it, but that won't actually happen. And then the final piece is listen. So, how do you build trust when you don't have all the answers? You stay real. You reveal what you know, you explain what you don't know, you acknowledge emotions, and you listen. This question makes me think about a research study that I found some years ago. I can't remember exactly where this study takes place. It is a real study. A group of researchers were studying gorillas, Doreen, and they wanted to really get as close as they could to these gorillas to be able to effectively study them as well as they could. And so for a number of months, they could only get this far. The gorillas wouldn't let them any further. So every morning when they woke up, they would get all of their guns and their ammunition, keep themselves safe. And they'd go to this point and they couldn't get beyond it. And it was just months and months of it. And they were running out of time. So one morning, one of the researchers wakes up very early and he decides, this is a true story. He decides that, hey, I'm just going to leave all of my guns here. And he went without his guns all the way to the edge, the closest place he could get. And the gorillas let him in. And he was able to actually study the gorillas. And that is, oh, I have the goosebumps even just remembering the story. That is the power of what is possible in leadership when we let down our guard. So we let down our guards because we have in front of us often all these different levels of guardedness that keep us from being able to actually connect with our team. So these things look like titles. They look like concerns around, am I going to keep my position? Think like your ego. These things here are barriers to connectivity and barriers, therefore, to trust. So leaders who are wanting to build trusts, especially when they don't know, lower the guard and allow for the folks on your team to see you as a human being, as real, right? As real as we described.
I love, 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 love this. Most of the time, leaders don't do that. But if you've just joined us, we are speaking
Having a
with
blast is what we're doing.
If you just join us, we are speaking to the one and only Misti Burmeister. She's a leadership communication expert, an executive coach, speaker, and author. And if you want her to coach you or need her services, we are going to put that on the screen right now. You can check her website, you can email her, you can call her. She is the lady to go to for all of your executive coaching and consultancy. Misti, I am loving this, loving this, loving this. So thank you. And again, I love the talk, I love the reel, and I know we're going to talk more about that, but let's keep the conversation going. What is one practice every leader can begin using like this afternoon to lead through change more effectively?
So I'm going to share it with you, but it's another great question. I'm fortunate that I had a little bit of time to think through some of the answers to this question. By the way, change is one of my favorite topics. I just love this conversation. So the answer that I would give to that is repeat and relate. Now, it's interesting because the data shows us that 90 something percent of people say that more people need, this is in the workforce, need training around listening. But yet only 3% think that they should get an increase in, or they should get some training in listening. So the concept with repeat and relate is listening oriented. Very, very often, we think that we're hearing what people are saying when we are not. So I'm going to explain the repeat and relate. It's gotten me out of so much trouble and gotten me into so many opportunities. I'm going to give an example of an opportunity it got me into. So I went and delivered a keynote speech to the Women in Leadership for the U.S. Navy. And afterward, it was a very successful experience. Loved it. They said, "Hey, we're having these problems with junior officers. They're not staying. You don't want to keep too many. You don't want to lose too many." They were losing too many. And so they asked if I'd help. And so I go in, just took a piece of paper and a pen, took lots of notes, everything they were saying. And at the very end of the hour, all I did for that whole time is go, "So what I'm hearing you say is this. Did I get it? Is there more?" And there was more. So I wrote down more until there wasn't any more. At the very end, I said, all of these things make sense. I couldn't have come up with a better list as the expert in this situation. But here's the deal. If you implement this, it'll fail. And they said, "What do you mean? Why?" I said, "Well, because people support the thing that they help to create." So, and with that, we went around the country and I got a chance to facilitate a lot, dozens and dozens of difficult conversations with sailors all around the country. And as a result, I got to have this little tiny piece of a part in creating paternity leave in all across all armed forces. But I'm sharing that story really only because it was the repeat and relate exercise. What I'm hearing you say is this. Did I get it? Is there more? What makes sense about what you're saying is this. This gives you a chance to make sure that you're fully understanding the people who are talking to you, and it gives them a chance to feel completely heard, right? So when we're afraid, we don't feel like we're understood, we don't feel like we're heard. So if we can repeat and relate with them about the concerns that they have, they get a chance to feel heard. And when people feel heard, they calm. And when they calm, they're more innovative, they're more creative, they've got more enthusiasm, they take greater responsibility over the responsibilities that they have. They take ownership over that. So when we repeat and relate, we change our relationships. And we increase trust and we increase capacity for innovation and collaboration across the board. Yeah, I'll tell you just one little quick little ending on this story. After that conversation, which I'm going to be honest with you, Doreen, I did not know I was up against the big uh, consulting firms of the country at the time. I did not know this, but I got the opportunity. And the reason I got the opportunity, as Captain Ken Barrett said to me at the very end of that, he goes, "What was that you were doing? What was that?" And I was like, it's called active listening or repeating and relating. So we think we're listening, but very often we are not. And when we command listening of ourselves, let me explain what that means real quick. When we command listening of ourselves, this means that in order for us to feed back what we're hearing, not parrot, but paraphrase, we have to really be listening. So we're commanding that of ourselves. Then we're checking and making sure that we got it right. What I hear you saying is this, did I get it? Is there more? It's the most powerful exercise that we can do every day of our lives, regardless of whether there's change and challenge or not. It is the number one skill I teach. I just created a whole video series to teach more about this because it is such a powerful, there is not a more important skill in leadership. In my 20, almost 5 years doing this work, there's not a more important skill set in leadership than listening. So repeating and relating with people. There's no passion around that, is there, Doreen?
I love it. It's listening is something that many people, to your point, don't do. And my mom will always say, God gave you two ears for a reason, right? So listen more. But to your point, people talk, 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 and don't listen. I love how you relate it to repeat and relate, because if you're not listening, you certainly will miss out on a lot more. So thank you for that. I'm still living through the talk and the real, and now we have repeat and relate. So I will make sure that you repeat it before we wrap up. But let me ask you from my end, and we have some questions coming already. So I want to make sure that we get to those questions as well. From my end, question I have for you is for managers, leaders, people watching us from wherever they are in the world today, if they have to show up to work tomorrow, lead a team, and are terrified that they are not enough, what is the first human thing they need to do before they start thinking like leaders? What's the first thing they need to do?
This is a powerful question. What I heard you say is if they need to go in and lead a team, I didn't hear you say during change and challenge, but go in and lead a team and they don't feel like they're enough. Did I get that right?
You did, yes.
This is not a small question, folks. Wow, it's a deep question. If I don't feel like I'm enough, it's going to be very difficult for me to lead others. So the question is, how do we come to a place where we feel like we're enough, right, Doreen?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know any better way to feel like enough than to get to know myself. Because the moment that I really turn toward myself and see myself clearly, there is nothing but an abundance of beauty that exists there. The challenge is that most of us who don't feel like enough have not had very good mirroring. They've not had very good mirroring, meaning people who see them clearly, people who can see their talents and their gifts and help them to see this. I want to share with you a quick example. This was just a few years ago, believe it or not. I've been, again, speaking for almost 25 years. And a few years ago, I was having a lot of anxiety. I was going to have to do a talk for a group of executives on difficult conversations, and I was really a mess. So I reached out to a mentor of mine, and her name was Jerry, and she's in her late 80s, and she has a lot of health complications. But yet she has an amazing attitude. And I said, Jerry, what do you do when you have this level of anxiety around, like if you had to do a talk or something earlier in your career? She said, well, Misty, tell me about it. Tell me about your talk. So I did. I spent the next 15 minutes sharing with her enthusiastically about my talk. And at the end of our conversation, she goes, you know, Misty, I've been around for a long, long time. And here's the challenge I have with you. You're one of the best, and it's just a shame that you don't already know it. She goes, I'm not saying that to make you feel good. I'm telling you that because it's the truth. You're very authentic, you're very open. And she went on and on. And that day changed my life, Doreen. That day changed my life. So we have to look for sometimes the people who we want to mirror us back to us. Are they mirroring us in a way that helps us to see ourselves more clearly? This is where great coaching can come into play. This is where great leadership comes into play, helping the folks on your team clearly see their gifts and their talents, supporting and encouraging them to step up more and more into their greatness. You know, we all have little blind spots. Nobody in this world that I've ever met is completely free of anxiety. But the more that we know who we really are, which sometimes we get from the Jerrys of the world. I've also got a great therapist and great coaches on my team. So, meaning on Misty's team.
Yes.
But I also do this, Doreen. Every morning, there's a great woman. Her name is Julia Cameron. She is an artist. And she created The Artist's Way. It's a book. And inside this book is an exercise. It's called Morning Pages. And the basic concept is you wake up and you write stream of consciousness. Sometimes the stuff that comes out is like, I hate this. I don't want this. I hate this. This is happening. But it's just stream of consciousness. And then about 2 weeks later, you read one, and then you write, and then you read, and then you write. And this is called studying yourself. So we can get this sense of knowing ourselves, which then leads to self-possession or, you know, self-confidence or an understanding of our enoughness, right? By over time, making ourselves a priority to get to know who we really are. Because when we know who we are, oh man, the enoughness is huge. It doesn't go away though. I'm not going to lie to you. I still have many, many moments throughout my days, little sprinklings of moments. Am I doing enough? Do I have enough? The whole enough game. But now it just kind of, it sounds a little bit more like wah, 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 wah. And I also have this skill to go, I literally will see a stop sign and put a stop to the noise. Okay? It's never going to go away. It's trying to keep you safe. It's just not accurate. So mirroring from the inside out and putting up a stop sign on the language that's happening inside of our heads that's not serving us.
I am speechless. And even before I say something on this, I want to say you truly are the best of the best because there are so many executive coaches out there. But I read the bios, and I said, no, let me knock on Misty's door and see if she can come up this show. So the guy was right. when he mentioned you are the best of the best. So thank you once again for your insights, for being authentic. Your authenticity just comes throughout the conversation. And I am so happy that you are here. And thank you. So once again, if you've joined us, we have Misty on talking about leading through change and uncertainty. We're going to do a quick acknowledgement. Thank you. This is Misty. So, leadership communication expert, executive coach, speaker, and author. And please, please, please visit her website. We did share that on the screen. We'll put it out again. She is your go-to person for all your executive coach needs. And also sometimes you need a consultant to help you go through the fog. So Misty there. We want to also say a quick thank you and share some of the partner services that we have. Special thanks to our sponsors, Tech for All, Quash Eyes, and of course, Mavis Inspires, motivating people along the way. We want to go on to the partner services that we have. We do have the Threat Lock service coming up. We have GH Accommodation providing hostel services to students. And then we have Ophir Agro that provides authentic dishes, authentic foods to students all over the world. So thank you. All right, so now it's question time. Misty, some questions came through, but I also want to throw it out to our audience, those on the Zoom call today. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and we'll come to you. But I want to read some of the interesting questions that came from our audience ahead of today. So, Misty, this one is from Nathan, and Nathan is in LA. His question is, mid-level managers are the shock absorbers of uncertainty. What do they need from executives that they are not getting? And what can they do without permission?
Wow. So we could spend time talking about what they're not getting from executives, but I don't know if that's really going to help the person who's asked the question. It seems to me like the more important question is what can you do in your leadership to get the things that you need for yourself? So repeat the question one more time, Dorina, and make sure I really got it.
Sure. So he's saying mid-level managers are the shock absorbers of uncertainty. So, when something happens at the top, they have to figure things out. So they are the shock absorbers of uncertainty. What do they need from executives that they are not getting? And what can they do without permission?
So I think that we all want to have certainty and that we look to people who are higher up the chain to create that level of certainty. But very often, for a whole variety of reasons, they either aren't able to communicate too much, they don't know how, there's a lot of reasons up here for not communicating. When I think that the question that makes like the way I would look at this, I'm gonna assume that this person's in a mid-level management position and they're trying to figure out how to address all of the concerns on the team. And you can't. So we're going to come back to the number one thing that you can do is listen to the fears and concerns of the folks on your team. You can ask the questions that you can ask of the folks that are higher up in your organization to try to get as many answers as you possibly can. But ultimately, to be as transparent and honest about how you're doing and about what you know and what you don't know for the folks on your team. It's not so much about absorbing I would change the language. Language is everything. It's more about changing the energy that's coming at us. So if you're in a mid-level management position, you're responsible for all of these people. They're looking to you for leadership, and these folks up here are not giving very good leadership. What can I do? Well, I can make sure that the folks, if it's layoffs that potentially are coming up, this is a situation that I dealt with recently. uh, You can communicate everything that you know, and you can communicate everything that you don't know. You can do your best to say, this is just only this day. We can go down this rabbit hole of negativity about what might be coming. But instead, let's focus on what we need to accomplish, both as a business as well as individuals. What are your goals, your aspirations in your career? You know, if there's layoffs coming up, let's get your resumes up to speed. Let's Our job in leadership is to help the folks on our team to succeed. The more they succeed, the more we succeed. So whether we look at it from the perspective of, oh my God, the world is coming down on me, and therefore I might not have a job, we can't do anything about that. There's things we can control, and there's things that we cannot control. And we have to focus on the things that we can control. To give our attention and our focus there gets us a lot. Right. So if we're really concerned about layoffs, or things related to AI taking over jobs, layoffs, then we have to still stay in this place of, how do I help the folks on my team to thrive, both inside the organization and inside their careers?
I like that. I mean, I think you hit the nail right on its head. And some of these you've already mentioned about, communicating what they know and don't know, because sometimes just being quiet doesn't really make the issue go away. So thank you for that. We have another question from Jackie. Jackie is she's in Africa.
Before you read that one, the one last thing I want to say about that last question. There's perception that you're supposed to know something, and you don't, right? So the more transparent you can be about what you know and what you don't know, the easier it will be to lead in this situation, to lead through change and people's fears. The more honest and real you are to the ability that you have, the more successful you'll be in doing it. Okay, I'm done.
I like that. We just had a pop-up from the Zoom from the audience that we have. And the question is, what advice can you do to first-time managers who are facing uncertainty for the first time? And the person, there was no names, the person who popped the question up, thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. So brand new managers who are just now dealing for the first time in uncertainty.
Yes.
I like to zoom out on life in every situation I'm in. So I think the earth is the exact distance from the sun, so as to warm it without burning it. Whatever power is doing that has got all of us as well. When I feel the most anxious is when I'm really zoomed in. Every little piece of my life is, oh my God, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? How do I do this? How do I do that? When I can zoom out and look at my life bigger, more whole. So for me, I look at, where did I begin my life, and look how far I've come. When I look at, I've got much more to learn and to grow. This is just a one little moment in time that is happening. And also, change and challenge are what help us to grow. And without it, we don't grow. So I don't love it. I just have come through a bit of it myself. We don't love it, but we need it. And I would say, remember to come out of, when we're zoomed in, it's more stressful. When we zoom out and look at our life bigger, everything seems to be a little bit more right-sized. Does this make sense, Doreen?
I think it does. And the person who asked the question, hopefully it answered, she answered it. I know I can.
If there's more you want around that, please pop it in the chat.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to read Jackie's question. I thought it's interesting. She's saying hiring in uncertain times. Her question is, how do you screen for people who can own outcomes when the JD, or which is the job description, can be outdated in 90 days? So how do you screen for people who can own outcomes when the job description can be outdated in 90 days?
So there's a potential, right? So you're hiring somebody, and you're trying to figure out whether or not they're the right fit. Are they actually going to own the outcomes? Maybe they'll own the outcomes with this job description, but maybe when they come in, things change, and we need them to do other things, or they're still going to own it? Can we get a crystal ball, please? No. I think there is no crystal ball here. There's no exact right answer, but there is a way of testing people. I'm in the middle right now of interviewing people myself, and I'm going to tell you what I do. And I'm going to tell you what I've seen work. Give people a chance to show you who they are. So let me be a little bit more clear about this. Often, I hope, we take our time before we get married to somebody, right? We're going to get married, actually wear a ring. We're going to take our time and make sure this is the right person. We don't do this when it comes to hiring very often. So we we want to slow down the process of hiring first so that we can get a sense of who is this person. And what I'm hearing you say is they need to be pretty adjustable. They need to be pretty committed to the success of whatever it is that we're working on. Because if they're committed, they're going to do the things that they need to do to help the organization to succeed. But if they are only just coming here to get a paycheck and to do this job, probably they're not going to fit well inside of an organization that's constantly changing and evolving with new technology, et cetera. So I just interviewed this gentleman who on paper looked amazing for me. I'm just looking for some administrative support, really. And I said, hey, why don't you just meet me down at he happens to be local. I've interviewed globally. Why don't you just meet me down and we'll have coffee together? And well, that morning I came up with an idea. I wanted to do a video in the water. I did, and it's coming out next week. I'm very excited about it. And I just said, you know what? Let me just throw you in the fire here. Let's just see how this goes. And I wanted to see in that moment, is he going to do it? Is he going to jump in the fire with me? Is he going to go away? What is he going to do? So I'm testing all along the way. I'm noticing, how does he respond to that? So I would say test the folks out who you're looking at interviewing, who you're looking at potentially hiring, creating a process that allows both of you to see, is this the right fit for me? Because these are my skills. And you know, some people who, like, you wouldn't hire me as an employee to do anything that's detail oriented, because I'll lose all your details. Right? So it doesn't matter what task you give me that's detail oriented, I'm going to mess it up. You give me something where I'm going to sell something, an idea, I'm going to knock it out of the ballpark. So you've really got to know the folks who you're hiring. What are their strengths? What are their skills? And how dedicated are they to making sure that it succeeds?
I love that. And we just have another question from the audience. And this is from Zoe. She's from England. And her
Hi,
question,
Zoe.
yeah. Her question is, how can leaders inspire confidence and maintain trust when they themselves are navigating uncertainty? I love this question.
Ooh, I love this question too. Zoe, thank you for such a great question. How can they inspire confidence when they themselves are uncertain? I can't begin to tell you how inspiring it is when somebody is actually real about what it is that they are struggling with. So inspiring, we can't be inauthentic, right? So we won't be successful in inspiring others if we're not being real about where we are. So there's two things here that I'm thinking. One is getting clear about what it is you're trying to achieve. And then looking at, how do you keep moving and how do you keep making steps forward? So this keeps you inspired about your own career, right? While at the same time recognizing, this is a specific story I want to give to Zoe. So I had an exact situation like this where a mid-level manager, there's a word of we're going to have layoffs, and so things might happen. And she might have lost her job. We didn't know what was going to happen. I said, well, tell me about the skills that you love. She started research because she's a tech person. She started researching AI. She started because she liked it, because she was curious about it. Now her vibration starts to come up as she takes ownership over her own career and the things that she really wants to do that matters to her. Now her vibration's high regardless of what happens. Keep learning, keep growing, keep sharing. This is what's going to be more inspiring than anything. But also acknowledging at the same time, this is a both and, right? Keep going, keep looking, keep investigating. What companies interest me? Like for her, she's in tech. She's really passionate about health and nutrition also. So she started looking up companies that are tech companies that deal in that. So her vibration comes up. So she starts to have more energy. And, the company still went through a lot of layoffs, and that was real. And she was devastated. She lost a lot of her team. 60% of the company was let go. She was not, but 60% of the company was. So, and now it's like, how do we keep our energy going now that we just lost all these people? And that is life. And that is life. Right.
Yeah.
So it's both and
Yeah.
there's grief and there's like, ooh, what's coming next? And
Yeah.
staying curious and staying open to what is coming. There's a what's coming next, what I was going to say there. There's a great saying. I'm not a super religious person, but a very spiritual person. God's rejection is God's protection. So even when things don't go exactly the way that we think that they need to go in order for us to be safe, remember our brains are constantly looking for safety.
Mhm.
Even when they don't go that way, that means that there's something else that's emerging for us. And can we stay curious long enough to find that new thread?
OMG. I am stoked. Thank you. Thank you. So Zoe, I hope Misty answered your question. Thank you. That was detailed, Misty. Thank you. That was you hit the nail right on its head. I have one last question from my end, the questions that came through. This one is from Michael. And Michael actually is in your neck of the wood, in DC. His question is, what's the biggest lie leaders tell themselves about accountability in uncertain times?
Wow. I feel like Michael probably has the answer to that question. That's a very specific question. What's the number one lie that leaders tell themselves? Um, that's a really good question. I'm going to assume that the reason why you want to know that answer is because then maybe it will help you to relate with these folks. So the number one lie, well, I'd have to make that up because I don't know. We tell ourselves so many lies. I don't know if there's one like number one lie that they tell themselves during uncertain times. Maybe let me just sit with that question for a second. We'll have a little bit of a pause cast for a second. Oh, here it comes. Maybe the number one lie that they tell themselves is that I somehow have some kind of control over what's going to happen or not happen. I need to do something, be something, behave in a certain way, because if I do, then this situation will turn out the way that I think it needs to turn out. So if I'm just quiet enough, or if I just stay under the radar enough, or if I just talk enough, or if I just do whatever their strategy is, then I will have control over what happens. One of the greatest challenges in life is that there's not that much that we are in control over. The way we think, what we think, sure, we have control over. What we do, we have control over. But the things out here, we don't have a lot of control over it. So, but the lie we tell ourselves is that there's something we can do. There's something that we can be or become, chasing worth, chasing enoughness, that then we'll be safe. And thank you for that question, Michael. That's a really good question. I'm going to high five you in the air because we're really not that far from each other. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, and Zoe did respond in chat to say you did answer her question.
Oh, beautiful.
And she said hi as well. So thank you. We are quickly going to share a slide on some of our upcoming events. And then my favorite part, rapid fire questions. You're going to have 60 seconds to answer a few questions so that we get to know who Misty is behind the executive veil. So
Oh, I'm ready.
yeah, and then of course, before on your final message for our audience, I would like you to hone in on the talk and then the real a little more so that people can at least take that nuggets into their toolbox. So going to share what's coming up and then rapid fire will follow. So here at Tech Hub, we are gearing up for some of our upcoming events. Currently, we are doing the hackathon. It ends at the end of this month, and I've seen so many applications coming. I know the team is working on it. So if you are still thinking about submitting your hackathon challenge questions, now is a good time because the 31st is gone. We have the startup pitch competition, which is also ongoing. And my favorite part is the Tech Guru Meetup, which is going to take place in Accra, Ghana on December 18th of this year. So if you are around or if you are planning to be in Ghana, Accra, Ghana, please make sure that you register. You can go to techhubafrica.org and go ahead and register for Tech Guru Meetup. All right, thank you. And Misty, I am ready to ask you the rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Awesome. So, coffee or tea when the crisis hits?
Coffee, coffee.
I love that. Slack, email, text message, or voice note to deliver bad news?
I only have those as choices.
Yes.
Voice
You
text.
could say something else.
I would say an in-person conversation, and I would say, or if that's not possible, a phone call. And
I
if
love
that's
that.
not possible, I would say a voice text. But I would not do that unless I had to.
I love that. I love the in-person stuff because it helps. It helps a lot.
Yeah, you
Awesome.
can look at somebody in the eye. You can feel with them a lot more when you're with them in person. Yeah,
I
the
love that.
touch is incredibly powerful too.
I love that. Most overrated leadership advice you have received. I don't get
Ah,
you.
all right. Well, this brings a little tiny story with it. There's a perception that you have to be a certain age, or you have to be a certain um, to be successful. And so I remember interviewing, I did 150 informational interviews before I started this company. I didn't was not going to start a company. I don't come from entrepreneurial background. I did not want to do this. But I was interviewing, and one of the people I interviewed, he listened to me, and at the very end, after asking me a billion questions, he stood up and he basically told me I was a liar, that I hadn't accomplished all these things, that there was no way this would be possible. And I took my resume and I said, thank you. By the way, I was looking for a job at the time. I was really scared. And I said, thank you, because I've accomplished more than what's on that resume. And then I turned around and walked out of his office. One of the most empowering moments in my life. I was very scared. So, advice that I've received over and over again is you have to have this or that degree. You have to have this experience or that. You have to live in this little tiny town long enough, and then you can do the things that you really want to do. I had somebody else tell me way back then, if you really want to do this work, you should go work you should go back and get your another master's degree, but this time in organizational development. Start at the very bottom of a company like Marriott and then work your way up. Right? This is truth.
Mhm.
6 months after hearing those words, I landed my very first contract with Marriott, having my own company doing exactly the thing I wanted to do. So, and in this little tiny town, I started the L3. This is not something that people just do here, right? So advice is somehow you have to know more, do more. No, you just got to start. You just got to start it. You just got to go, okay, I'm going to do it and we'll see what happens. And I don't know what's going to happen. I'm on this interview with you right now. Doreen, I don't know you that well.
Yeah.
But if it's easy, if it comes to me, it's for me,
Mm.
for the most part. So
Mm.
I have discernment. And so I go with what my gut is telling me to do. Don't believe people who say you need all these things before you can take action. No, you don't. You just need to start. If you have a
Yeah.
passion, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, you just have to start. And in fact, when I get anxious, because I still do all these, I still get anxious. I just think of this. this analogy. To grow a plant, you just got to plant them first. You got to plant the seeds. You got to plant the seeds. If you want to grow a plant, you have to plant the seeds, and then you have to just water the seeds. And just water the seeds. And then over time, you just water a little bit more. And then before you know it, the sprout comes up, right? So every day, I just water a few seeds. Maybe sometimes, rarely now, but sometimes I plant a new seed. L3 was a new seed, right? So plant your seeds, your dreams, and then
Yeah.
water them just a little bit every day.
Yeah.
And over time, it grows.
I love that. And I love how you say start. There's a saying that the longest journey starts with one step. So don't wait. Just start. And I love the story you told about the leadership, overhyped, overrated leadership advice. A 15-year-old from New Jersey reached out to us, Tech Hub, wanting to partner with us because he has a business. And this is true. So I had a meeting with this guy, Ethan, just in case you are watching this somewhere. I had a meeting with him. He scheduled a meeting. I had a meeting with him, and he was giving me all the reasons why we should partner with his company. And I said, Ethan, I love what you're doing, and but you're 15, and I need an adult to be with you before we can have any partnership agreement. And he said, but on paper, I'm 15, but on paper, I'm the founder and president of the company. So to your point, they tell
Wow.
you need all these degrees or you need all these experiences, but is it really what you need? Or do you have enough to say, this is me? But this was a 15-year-old from New Jersey who reached out. And when I was pushing back, he said, no, on paper, I'm the president and CEO of the company, and you can deal with me. So, it goes straight
Wow. And
to
did you deal with him?
I haven't. I told him I still need an adult. So he said he sent me an email that his director of marketing and director of promotion, something, he will schedule another meeting so that we talk to them. And I'm like, sure. So, but it was an eye opener. He said, hey, don't use my age. I have done all of this. I just have these
I
adults
am
who are
impressed.
showing, yeah, yeah.
Where is he living? Where is he?
New Jersey,
Well,
right
he's
in New
not far from
Jersey.
me. You
No,
tell him
no,
to reach
no.
out to me. He's
Yeah,
very close. Tell him to come to
yeah.
the L3.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I mean, the meeting, I was like, "How old are you?" He goes, 15. I'm like, "Really?" So yeah, just yesterday, we had a meeting. 15 years. Ethan from New Jersey. So Ethan, I got your email. I'll be responding to you shortly. But yeah, so anyway, let me ask my other question. What's one word your client would use to describe you?
Uh, well, there's my fourth book is called Provoking Greatness. And
Mm,
I would say that they would use, if it was just one word, um, a challenger with big heart. Yeah, challenger.
I love
I
that.
don't, uh, I don't, I don't say things to try to keep a client. I say things that I see.
I love that.
And one of my clients calls that getting mystified.
I love that. I love that. I think that that's probably it. I love that. I love that. So, what song do you play when you need to reset after a hard day?
There's actually a brand new, it's called Abundance. It's called, let me tell you exactly what it's called. There's a brand new on Spotify. Shift to Abundance is what the station is called. And whatever shows up on that, it just makes me move. It shifts my energy. Um, it's very positive and upbeat. And I play it every time we're at the L3. Yeah,
I can see you love your mood because I saw you moving when you came on
right.
the
I was
show. I
jamming.
love that.
Yeah, I get a
I
lot of
love
freedom
that.
through movement. Dance is awesome.
So, the boardroom or the grocery store, where have you learned more about leadership?
Ooh. Come on, you know the answer to that question. A grocery store for sure. Yeah, and every place in between for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the post office person teaches me. Every place I go teaches me about leadership. I was just in a cafe recently, and the entire team was stressed out, and I did not want to be there. teaches you a lot about leadership. I've been into other places where people are just, in another cafe just not too far from here, people are always buzzing. They're happy. They are more than willing to do whatever they can to be of service to you. That feels good. It teaches. Yeah. And also, Doreen, I had a client not too long ago who was C-level person at a major hospital. And she said, you know, Misty, the minute I pull up into the garage, there's a camera on me. And it was stressful for her. And I said, what if you just pretended like there was always a camera on you, no matter where you went? And I love that. She started to do that, and I do that myself. People are always watching. Doesn't mean you need to be perfect, right? That's what the universe gives us I'm sorry's for, apologies for. I'm not perfect, but people are always watching. And let my actions and my words instruct.
Yeah, I like that. My younger sister has a company, CCTV company, and her logo is somebody's always watching. So I think once your brain is wired that way, it helps. Yeah. If uncertainty was an animal, what will it be?
Tiger.
I like that. And then my final rapid fire question, in 3 words, what do people or employees need most from leaders right now?
Clear direction, empathy, and listening. So where are we going? Why does it matter? We're all human, which means that we also have emotions, so acknowledging those. And what was the third one I said, Doreen?
Direction.
Direction. Yeah. Where are we really trying to go? Why does it matter?
I love that. This is powerful. Misty, thank you.
What an absolute joy this has been.
I am so excited, but I want you to give us your final words. And in those words, because I want our audience to take home a little bit more about the talk, the L3 that you mentioned. So please, in your final statement, include those for me.
Yeah, well, so first of all, I thank everybody who's been listening in. It's a real joy to be here with you, Doreen. What you're doing is really powerful and beautiful, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. We talked about the earliest signals that your team is struggling with change as TALK, which is an acronym for tension increases, right? Avoidance grows. We have less collaboration, and we have kitchen conversations or gossip that happens. How do we build trust when we don't have all the answers? We talked about how important it is that's the time to build trust. It's not when everything's going well. It's how we behave when things aren't going the way that we think they need to go. So to be real about that, I also created an acronym for that, which is reveal what you know, right? Explain what you don't know. That's the E. Acknowledge emotions. And finally, the L is to listen, which is part of the repeat and relate. What I'm hearing you say is, did I get it? Is there more? And kind of my final closing thought is your job really isn't to remove uncertainty. Nobody can remove uncertainty, but it's to answer some questions. So we help people to understand, where are we right now? What do we know? What don't we know yet? What's our next step? And what should we focus on today? So these are the questions to consider. Where are we right now? What do we know? What do we not yet know? What's our next step? And what should we focus on today? The greatest leaders in the world are answering these questions with their teams during the most uncertain times. And throughout, frankly, but especially during uncertain times.
I'm speechless. I cannot add a single word to what you've said, Misty. So I will use this opportunity to say a huge thank you for sharing your expertise on navigating change and uncertainty. And our community, thank you so much for joining us. As you've heard from Misty, leading through uncertainty isn't about having all the answers.
It's about empathy, trust, adaptability. She mentioned change, direction. She did explain her talk, the real, the L3, all of that can guide you in navigating through change and uncertainty. So please, let's take these lessons with us and lead with courage, compassion, and innovation. So thanks for joining us today, and let's keep pushing boundaries and lead with courage. If you need to, please follow us on our social media handles. The team will pop it up on the screen, and also reach out to Misty, reach out to us. We will share all the contact information as well. Misty can be reached on her website. You can connect with us by email, info@techhubafrica.org or events@techhubafrica.org. And on all the social media platforms, we are there as well. So until the next Tech Talk, please keep the conversation going. Until the next Tech Talks, continue to empower, innovate, disrupt, sustain, and transform Africa and the world, one innovation at a time. All right. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you, Misty. Thank you all. Thank you.
Tech takes its place. Tech Hub Africa, we're flying high.